Welcome to the weekly Chinuch Hashkafa message. This is going to be the last one I do before Pesach, and I wanted to discuss two connected but two very important Pesach topics, both to give and provide a few parenting tips in this regard, but also to provide the ideas that we can discuss with our children leading up to Pesach and connected to Pesach. The first, let me begin with a vort in the Haggadah. We know that the Rasha, we're quite harsh with the Rasha, and one of the things that the Rasha asks is Mo ha'avoida hazois lachem. What is all this that you're doing? Simply meaning, what is the Seder? What are the mitzvahs that you're doing? What does it all mean? And he does it in a sort of questioning, challenging way. But the Yerushalmi and the Mefarshim bring this down based on this question, actually translates it a bit differently. What the Rasha is really asking is, Mo ha'avoida, why do you work so hard? What's this Torah? What's this bother, this load, this incredible, difficult work that you keep doing year in and year out? That is the question of the Rasha. And it's important for us to understand that this, in fact, in the Haggadah, is the question of that son which we call the Rasha. Because, especially nowadays, when children are challenged and so many things are attractive out there that are not in line with Yiddishkeit, and the whole notion of working hard is somewhat lessened in our generation, with abundance being so prevalent and people having easy lives, relatively speaking. One of the things that's really important to be acknowledged and to be aware of is the effect that we have on children when we keep on complaining about Pesach. Now, Pesach is hard. Sometimes we make it more difficult than we need to. We need to discuss that with the Rav. But Pesach is hard. The cleaning is hard. The preparation is hard. The financials are hard. And the buying things and everything that we need to do leading up to Pesach is difficult. But as the Shulchan Aruch says, particularly with regard to the Korban Pesach, that a person is not permitted to say, Kama kosher ze olai Pesach, how difficult this is for me. I think when it comes to parenting, we have to be very, very careful. Not to be in denial, not to tell children it's easy. It's not easy. It's hard work. But to bring out constantly the beauty of working hard for Pesach. Now, this is both a parenting tip and a discussion. It's both the way we behave, not to say things like it's too hard. If we need to kvetch, we should do that at least in private. But not with children. We should actually not create that culture that Pesach is a pressure, Pesach is hard, Pesach is difficult. We get nervous every time Pesach comes around. That's a really big problem. So maybe we need to share with children, here's the famous word from the Baditcha Verov, who said that cleaning for Pesach is so powerful that it creates the same malachim that are created when we blow the shofar. And his famous word was that when we blow the shofar, we say Yehi Ratzain, and we talk about the sounds coming out of the word kashrak, which is kuf, shin, reish, kuf. Kuf standing for the kuf in the tkiya, reish standing for the trua, because it's got a reish. The shin is the shvarim, and then the kuf is the tkiya. Tkiya, trua, kashrak. They've said the Baditcha, the kashrak are the four letters which in Yiddish, which have to do with cleaning, kratzen, reiben, shoiben, keren, all these different expressions in Yiddish would actually do with cleaning for Pesach. So we should express that it is hard, but how wonderful it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this mitzvah and gave us this opportunity to connect to Him through Pesach, to go out of Mitzrayim and to work hard in order to do it. We need to involve our children in the cleaning for Pesach, give them jobs, give them the responsibility. Involve them in going buying stuff for Pesach, particularly the matzahs, involve them in preparing for the kaira, in making the charoises, in doing all the other preparations, and so on and so forth. But let's try our very best, not to pretend that it's not easy, but not to create a pressure and a lachas and a culture in the house that we all hate this. But on the contrary, we're all excited to do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvahs. Which of course connects to the next thing, which is so important on a very simple level, a discussion to have with children about Pesach. What is Pesach? On a very basic, simple level, Pesach is when we celebrate Chayrus, to be free. What is freedom? And this is what we need to, because I think it's all confusing today for children, what that means. And of course, we need to have the discussion before Pesach, during Pesach, by the Seder, whenever it is, about what is Chayrus, what is freedom. Freedom does not mean to do what we want. That's avdus, that's slavery, when we get trapped in ourselves and we just follow whatever we want to do. But chayrus, freedom, means that Hashem gave us the ability, and through Pesach and through Yetzias Mitzrayim, to make decisions, to have self-control, to really be free. Free means to be in control of ourselves. We need to bring out to children this idea that when we just do whatever we want, whatever our Yetzer Hara tells us that we need to do, whatever taiva we give into, that's being slaves to ourselves. That's not being free. A strength, freedom, real freedom is control, self-control, Kabbalah's oil, holding back, not doing just we want to do it because we want to do it, but doing something that is right. And ultimately that leads to such a deep life, a life connected to Hashem, a greater life, and a happier life. There's a story, maybe you can share it with your children, a story I once heard from my Zayda, about one of the Belzer Rebbes, one of the great tzaddikim, who took his child to a mikveh. One day, people, Hasidim, go to a mikveh. And for some reason, the mikveh was very cold. And the child, as he put his foot into the mikveh, he said, ooh, it's cold, oi. And eventually he went into the mikveh, and then it was cold, but when he came out, he said, Michoel, it's warm again. So his father told him, he says, that's the way Yiddishkeit works. When we do something, we want to do it when it's wrong. We watch what we shouldn't watch. We eat what we shouldn't eat, and so on. In the beginning, it's but at the end, it's It's not good for us. It weakens us. It makes us further from Hashem, and so on. We can elaborate on that. When we do a mitzvah, yes, in the beginning it's hard, like Pesach, like holding ourselves back, like not doing what we want to do. But at the end is it's a machaya. It's connecting to Hashem. It's becoming a stronger person, and ultimately a happier person. We know that when it came to Mitzrayim, Hashem said, when you come out of Mitzrayim, Tavdu nesalakim al harazeh, you will serve Hashem on this mountain. Shalach es ami v'yavduni, Moshe Rabbeinu said, send my nation not to be free, but to work hard, not to do what you want, but to serve Hashem. Because the greatest mitzvah is that we can serve Hashem. But as parents, we actually need to show an example of that. We need to show that we also hold ourselves back. That we don't sit at meals looking at our iPhones and checking our messages, but we concentrate on the children. That we also perhaps hold back from doing the things that we want to do. We need to find areas that we show an example of exercising self-control. One of the greatest things we can instill in children is that chayrus, that freedom of holding back and not doing whatever you want to do, something that's so uncommon today. But that's chayrus on a very basic level, and that's the type of discussions that maybe we should be having around Pesach time. I want to wish everyone a kosher and a freilichen Pesach.